Welcome to Log It. We're here to talk the holdovers, Ian. We have a very special, fun guest today. Andy Z is back.
Finally back. Dear
Thank
God, where
goodness.
have you
I
been?
know. We
You're
have
just
a
hanging
lot
out.
of fun new guests, but it's good to have Andy back.
Oh,
Always love being
staple.
back, Caleb.
Good. Andy picked the
Andy,
holdovers today, 2023.
Director Alexander Payne reunites with Paul Giamatti for the first time since Sideways, and the result is pure movie magic.
Hey there, handsome. You want a date?
We're finally getting to the good stuff.
The Holdovers is one of the finest of Payne's career. It's raucously funny and irresistibly entertaining. It's a perfect 10.
I think you're erratic and belligerent.
Are you trying to look down my shirt?
No. Yes, but you've got time to turn things around. Yeah, I was going to tell you the same thing.
The Holdovers.
Before we start, Andy, you had a question you wanted to ask.
I did have a question. Have you guys ever watched a movie where you were supposed to watch this movie with a friend, but you ended up not, and you went without that friend, and you got caught, got in trouble? Have you guys ever done that?
Oh God.
I guess maybe not. Or fessed up at the end.
Like caught as in like you were walking into the theater and they found out.
No,
Or just a
no,
logging
okay,
situation. They saw you log a movie.
That's also a good point that I did not think about. But I'm just saying in general, like sometimes you have these friends that you're like, yeah, of course, yeah, or like you agree, yeah, we're gonna go see this together,
Right.
but then you end up not, and then you have to lie, and then you have to go again. And
Oh,
watch
you
the movie
lie?
again.
Dear God.
Have you ever done that?
I've never had it that bad, for sure.
I think the only person that I'm involved in those situations with is with Alex, my wife, because like I'll save movies. Like I have like a letterbox list of like 50 movies. I'm like, oh, I'll watch these with her. But she just never wants to watch movies. So I just end up watching them without her. And then she never asks. So it's like kind of like not a big deal. But the friendship thing.
Knowing your wife, I feel like she wouldn't care either.
She wouldn't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, the friendship thing, it is one of those things where it's like when I see someone log a movie, I'm like, bro, we were talking about watching that together. And just get like a little bummed out.
Wait, so this has happened to you?
It has, but
You're
like
inversed.
not without like the conversation around it. Like it was kind of like in the air, like, hey, we should make plans to see a movie. And they end up seeing the movie. And I'm like,
We were supposed to
like,
follow
whoa,
up on
you're
that.
like a little taken
okay.
aback.
All right.
That's funny.
But it hasn't like evolved into anything bigger than that,
Anything like that?
you know? But it sounds like you have lost like
Well, I have a
friends along the
confession.
way.
I have a
Oh, no.
confession. I have a confession to make. Is why I
To
brought
who?
this question up. To a friend. I saw Gladiator
Are they
2.
listening?
Sue me. Not yet.
Wait, you
This
saw
is
what,
live,
too?
baby. They don't know. Gladiator 2.
Oh, you saw a dose. Okay.
And that's
Without a person?
That's an event film.
Well, dude, okay.
Caleb,
so
get the
here's
bleeping
thing.
button ready. We're going to need to bleep some names.
So, well, I mean, you guys know who it is. My friend Kevin, my movie friend.
Yeah, you're fucked, dude.
We were supposed to go watch it together, and he specifically said, he's like, hey, do you want to go watch Gladiator? Because if not, I'll watch it. And I was like, no, I want to watch it. So what happened was Thanksgiving, I got turkey duty ×2. I had to make 2
Yeah, you're on-
turkeys.
That's crazy.
It's rough.
So it takes a while to do that. And stick the turkeys in the oven. I had 5 hours to kill. What am I gonna do? I washed my van. I washed my
Okay.
car. Still had
That's like
4
2
hours
hours.
left.
Okay.
And I was like, huh. And I was like, well, AMC's down the street. Let's see what's playing. And nothing.
What else would be
I wanted to see
playing?
except
Come on,
for-
Andy. You knew.
Nothing else I wanted to see except for Gladiator. And it was 2
You didn't see
and a half
Milan?
hours long. And I was like, this is literally the perfect time to watch this movie right now. But I know what I know in doing so, it'd be betraying my word. But I think I'm going to have to pull the trigger because I have nothing else to do.
Wait, so
And
does he
I
not
did
know?
it. No,
He's
he
not going to
doesn't know. We'll see. We'll see. I have not logged it for that
You
reason.
mug. That's actually like, and then
That's
what do
guilt.
you mean?
That's
How is
real
it cheating? You've watched it, therefore it needs to be logged.
guilt.
That's how it
The
works.
year hasn't ended.
Sacred
The year has
rules of
not ended.
log it.
I can still.
So you're gonna log it post.
Try to bury it.
I'm gonna log it.
later.
I'm gonna log it at
This is
When we
nefarious.
say the number 2 of the countdown, 10,
Okay.
9, that's when I'll log.
Like, Kevin, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Gladiator 2 is like is what Caleb said. It's like the event movie of the season. I haven't even seen it yet. I've been wanting to see it. And there's a couple of people I'm like, hey, we should see Gladiator 2. And they're like, I already saw it. So I'm like, where was my invite?
There wasn't much hype on it on my end.
People are not loving it. I think it's a pretty divisive movie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it, but you know, there wasn't. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, what? It's a Gladiator movie,
right?
What's there to hate? Right, Caleb?
True.
I want to see it in theaters because I'm hoping at least the scale of it will be fun. Because I like the first one a lot, but
there's sharks in the Coliseum.
I like this. It seems like they went a little batshit, which I love. But to answer your question, definitely with my wife, I'll watch TV episodes. I'll keep watching a show when she falls asleep, and I'll have to pretend I didn't go as far as I did. Where I'm like, what's gonna happen? Oh my gosh! Like, whoa, did you see that? She's like, whoa, and I'll be like, oh my gosh,
I didn't know that was gonna happen.
That's crazy. Wow, this is the first time. But I've kind of done the inverse of this a little bit, where I forget I saw a movie with somebody, and I'm talking to somebody, and I'll be like, dude, Gladiator 2 was awesome, and they're like, I saw that with you. Like I was there with you. And
dude, we were holding hands.
Yeah. Like, my bad. Like, just very excited to talk to you about it. I've done that a handful of times.
Oh, you're talking
totally honest.
To be fair, when you're watching a movie, you can go to the movie with you're there. You're there to watch the movie. Yeah.
But that's hilarious.
Good question,
Holdovers, yeah, that was fun. We haven't done question in a while. We got to bring that back. Holdovers, I'm excited to get into. This was a perfect Christmas kickoff movie. This is a very holiday heavy movie. It's a very holiday spirity, very sad movie. Like Alexander Payne, sad, but and like kind of heavy, but very uplifting in my opinion. It's a very sweet movie.
In time, recent film. It's nice to talk about a movie that came out within the last 5 years.
Yeah, one year.
Yeah, 1 year.
Caleb, what took you so long?
Yeah, dude, what the frick?
I just don't watch new things as like quickly as I used to, which I don't know. There's just like, and then with like Log It too, I'll lose track of time. So like I've noticed because of Letterboxd that I'll end up watching a ton of new movies all at once. Like this year, there was like a week where I watched a bunch of 2024 movies I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah, you logged Hot Frosty. That's a new one.
So, spoiler alert for my recommendation.
Fuck, sorry, Caleb. Bleep that out. Bleep that out.
It's actually awesome.
Bleep it out.
It's actually hilarious. It's like
I want to watch that too. Yeah,
it's like it's like the best Hallmarky Christmas movie I've ever seen. Where it's like kind of self-aware, pretty funny actually. Becca almost cried during it, unironically. because it gets so heavy.
Frosty was just too hot.
Did she just happen to like stub her toe at the same time as the movie was ending?
I pinched her. It's just so I could make fun of her on the podcast. Oh, you're crying during Hot Frosty, idiot. But no, I don't know. And I tried to just like only watch things when I'm like kind of excited about them. So I think just last year it just didn't hit. But it was the perfect time to watch it now because I'm in the Christmas spirit already. I was hanging out with my nieces and nephews this last week for Thanksgiving. And we did a couple of Christmas things in town where they had like tree lightings and stuff.
Oh, nice.
The Holdovers. I wanted to start by reading some reviews. I want to start doing this at the beginning. Does that sound okay to you guys?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. Let's do it then. So this is the first 5-star review ever on Letterboxd for the Holdovers. This is from Snan, S-N-A-N, and they say warm, fuzzy, devastating, and answers all kind of questions about Paul Giamatti's ocular situation. Thoroughly in love with this one and looking forward to revisiting ASAP Heart. And then the second oldest one, the novelistic maturity of Nebraska, the sharp wit of Sideways, the character exuberance of Election, the distinct humor of All Three Balanced, a warmth unparalleled, tactile atmosphere of something completely different, maybe best of such since Phantom Thread. Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. Actually, visually, yeah. Payne is back in Poggers form. I don't know what that means. Is that a reference to the movie? I don't get it if it is.
I don't know.
And that was from Kyle Donovan. That was very eloquent. That was a great review from Kyle. And now we're going to go to the other end of the spectrum. We're going to do the lowest review you can give, half star, and the oldest of the half stars. And now,
Who are these guys?
this is from Justin Tanner.
Stars.
Half star. It's been a while since I walked out of a film. Spoiler.
What?
Where this is going. But after
Whoa.
90 minutes of
Scrooge
Alexander Payne's
much?
late, this is just cutting straight to the
It ends
spot.
with bah humbug.
I couldn't take it anymore. This is so dramatic, Justin.
Couldn't take what?
It's really just not that, even if you don't like it. I leapt from my seat and practically ran out of the Eagle Theater, where a sold-out crowd seemed to be thoroughly enjoying this really dumb, really basic, really insulting movie from pre-literate troglodytes. Is he doing like a meta thing? Don't they say troglodyte in this movie? I think they do. It's a great concept. Grumpy teacher and snotty student bond over Christmas break while both are stuck on campus for the duration. And I really like Paul Giamatti, and I know this movie will affect some people. It's designed to grope around inside your heart like a drunken surgeon
Don't
with
say
a
grope.
dull scalpel in your heart. But it's written in a kind of baby talk shorthand that never, for a single moment, resembles the communication of actual humans. If you want to know what a script written by AI might sound like, look no further. Which is, all right, I'm going to skip to the end.
Let's stop reading this. This guy is out of control.
I'm just going to ... He complains about the movie. Please don't hate me if you end up loving this movie. I certainly won't think any less of you. Oh, good. Thank you. I know the climate the world is in. Cheap entertainment is sometimes exactly the balm we need to feel better. Wow.
Why is he writing this like it's a Marvel movie? What's happening?
And it's so funny because this is just like the exact opposite of like the hallmarks of Alexander Payne, which is hilarious. And it certainly doesn't get any cheaper, flimsier, or more brain-meltingly stupid than the Holdovers. Merry Christmas. So not bah humbug, but Merry Christmas he ends it with. So that's the oldest first half-star review, which he must have realized he had it first, and that's why he talks so much. And then the other one that I like this review better from Man, this is it, the last one, not as good as Big Fat Liar, which, what is
another
as good as Big
Paul
Fat Liar?
Giamatti classic?
But I think that's a good, view of the range of emotions this movie creates. And like I was saying, that one from Justin Tanner, I completely disagree with, because I felt like this has like very nice, authentic view of like humans, and it's a very like warm.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, Alexander Payne's like whole thing is like humanness. Like
he knows how to direct actors. He can get performances out of people. And why I would say like maybe it's not like the most like crazy plot, or it's not like anything made. It's just a simple story. I don't think it's trying to do anything more than that, than trying to tell a story of these three people spending Christmas together.
No, I totally agree. It's definitely more about like the characters, and then also I feel like a big thing is the like environment. One of the best parts of this to me was just how it almost felt like being like at Hogwarts. It reminded me of like that kind of
I thought
where it's
so
just
too.
All shot on set.
Yeah.
all shot, and it's a real boarding school, right? That they shot on.
It's a high school, yeah.
I was reading that the Barton is pieced together by 5 different schools to make one piece. Yeah, so 5 different schools in Massachusetts are together make Barton.
Very cool.
That's fun, and it creates a great like sense of like a place.
It all feels very lived in.
This did feel like the first holiday movie that I've seen in a long time, where it was just completely comforting, and like a movie that it felt like that I've seen before, like it felt like as soon as it started, it felt like an instant classic, like something that I've seen before, because they did such a good job of making all of the scenes look cozy.
It feels extremely nostalgic, whether it's like the way it's like shot like a 70s movie. So it feels like it's been a movie like in our lives for however many years. So it's actually crazy that it just came out a year ago, because it feels like it's just been a part of our like movie watching experiences like over the holiday season.
Truly.
Yeah. Even the titles at the beginning are very
I love that.
Very cool.
Dude,
all film grainy. You can see the specs.
Dude, that's the best part They do that with like the audio too, where it kind of clips in and out,
Mm-hmm.
almost like a record
I
scratch.
love that.
It's so
Yeah.
cool. And then also like I think if you have a period piece movie, all of like your production house like title cards at the beginning need to be like from that era. Like that just makes it feel again like so it just makes the experience, like the movie watching experience. And I
That's true.
like you said, Caleb, like all like the what is like the Universal pictures, the old like
Yeah, very cool.
yeah, like from like the
Front
70s or whatever.
plates or
It's all
Mhm.
lovely. And it's such a
Yeah.
great way to start the movie.
Absolutely. It did feel like I think you're right in saying, Ian, the audio of like the film crackling in the beginning. I didn't think about it until now. Like it totally reminds me of watching a VHS movie when I was a kid.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
You hear that sound before it like anything starts.
And I think it's like how you were saying, like how the movie just instantly feels like a warm hug, which I will say also,
Mhm.
I was watching this on Amazon Prime and they give you like the little like quiz like things while you're watching it. And
No, I'm not aware. I didn't know that they
wait,
did that.
you should check it out. Check it out. It's actually pretty interesting because they'll give you like
Hmm.
some fun facts while you're watching. But Alexander Payne absolutely hates that this movie is being like painted with like a cozy like Christmas time brush. Like he just like wants the movie to stand on its own, and he hates that people are like, it's a cozy Christmas movie. And I'm like, hey buddy, you shouldn't have made it so goddamn like
Yeah.
lovely.
Maybe he wrote
Seriously.
the review and coded it as someone
Oh,
else.
maybe.
He was trying to set the set the narrative early.
Absolutely.
That's so funny. Yeah, this was shot on 35 and adds like a really nice feel to it, and it fits the environment and the era perfectly. Like it looks like it was shot in the 70s. So I loved that.
Can I say interject, Caleb?
Please.
No, so actually it was shot digitally. So it was shot digitally, and then they basically because they were gonna shoot it on 35.
Really?
Yeah, they were gonna shoot on 35, and then
Are you sure?
yeah, that's what I was listening to the cinematographer or the the director of
Well, I got
photography.
bad info.
Sorry, I didn't want. It's just because it was very interesting.
No,
just,
that's super interesting.
just because they shot
Okay,
on
well,
digital.
continue. Tell us. Yeah.
Sorry, they shot on digital and then basically after the fact put in this film grain because they thought that if they shot on film originally, they would have to do too much like I forgot what the term we used, but they would have to like go back into the film stock and like mess with it. So they thought it'd just be easier just to shoot it digitally and then alter it afterwards. But the reason I brought that up was just because again, it just adds to like the nostalgic kind of like the well-worn features of the movie, which again
Yeah.
I really really like.
And it's a perfect way to like present this town.
Yeah.
Interesting. So very cool. Yeah, I guess they added grain, which you can tell, but I guess
Yeah.
they took it out in certain scenes too.
Yeah.
So I wonder. I'd be curious to know the thought process for that. I'm sure just the look and the feel for each scene, but that's super interesting. So it looks like, and yeah, it was just like a digital alteration. It looks great.
It looks
Caleb,
amazing.
do you
It's
know
crazy.
what scenes? Do you know what scenes that they took the grain out? I'm just curious to
No,
know
let me look if I
what
can.
would be the decision behind that.
Let me look if I can get deeper into this. I know most of the outdoor town stuff has the grain because that's where I really noticed it. I'm gonna guess it's like indoor darker things
Or like
maybe
maybe
because it
like
was just
yeah,
too
that makes sense.
distracting.
Yeah, the wide shot screen scenes probably grainy. That makes sense.
This link. Yeah, that's cool. What did you listen to with the cinematographer, Ian?
It was just part of the little X-ray addition to the
Cool,
to the
right
Yeah, it
on.
Amazon
was a part of
stuff.
the Amazon thing.
Yeah, so they give
I
you like
see.
all these like cool little like tidbits about the movie. It's like it's pretty interesting actually. I do enjoy reading along as I'm watching.
Well, to do a plot recap,
Yeah.
we can go through beat by beat more,
Yeah.
but basically, it's a pretty simple story, kind of like that one mean kid was saying on Letterbox. This is a story about a boarding school in the 70s, and it's the Christmas holiday, and there's a group of kids who don't have anywhere to go, and they're called the Holdovers. I don't think officially, but they're mentioned as such throughout the film. And the Holdovers, there's one kid whose parents last minute turn him down. That's
Tully.
Angus Tully, and he is the only one who isn't able to leave the holdover situation and go skiing with one of the rich kids' dads who flies in a helicopter and takes them all skiing because his parents don't answer the phone. So he has to stay the holiday alone with Paul Giamatti and
Mr.
the
Hunnam,
wonderful Mr. Hunnam. Let me get the other lady's name, who's awesome.
Mary.
Mary, played by Divine Joy Randolph.
So good.
Very good.
The
I mean,
chef.
she won the damn Oscar for this.
She was
Did
so
she
good.
win?
Yeah.
She wasn't just nominated. That's
No, she
crazy.
won.
Oscar-winning performance, and she is really, really good. And basically, they're a bunch of kind of oddballs who don't really have a place to go for Christmas, and they, at first it's
Yeah.
kind of a pain in the ass for everybody, but then they realize, how great they all are, and kind of find this.
They're all struggling with
know.
something.
Right. Yeah, they're like 3
Mhm.
broken
Yeah.
people coming together on Christmas. Like 3
Pretty
unlikely
sad
people.
stories. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which Angus is dealing with his parents, his stepdad, and his mom, who don't really like him. And we learn more about his character, but we learn his dad is not in the picture anymore. And we hear a few different stories about where he is, I think, before the end they reveal what's really going on with him. And then Mary, which is, come on, you don't want it to be a Christmas movie and you have a sweet person named Mary
Of course.
whose son died. Her son died, and she has
Who was
not
also
really
a
been
student
able-
at the school. Who was also a
student at the
Barton boy.
school, but
Barton.
not as privileged as the other kids. One theme in this movie is Vietnam, and they talk a lot about how these kids kind of have this out with Vietnam because they're all Ivy League college bound.
Like, this is a boarding school for affluent people.
Yeah,
Right.
Skull and Bones vibe a little bit. We're the leaders of tomorrow. And then Paul Giamatti is kind of, there's probably a little bit more to it, but ultimately he's just kind of like a failure who's kind of just like scared of like living.
Yeah,
more or
he's
less,
the
kind of like
curmudgeonly
classic.
old teacher
Yeah.
who, like, the faculty doesn't like him, the students don't like him, and he kind of like leans into it a little bit.
Yeah, he seems to know and embrace
yeah.
it. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I was gonna say on that subject, did you guys ever had a teacher like that?
Not that I know of. No one that was just like who kind of like revered in being a shitheel to kids.
Shit heel.
Yeah.
Never heard that. Caleb?
First time for everything.
Well, you guys went to the same school.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think.
Of anybody. I mean, there was I feel like he's the closest thing is like the PE teachers. Like I feel like all the PE teachers were like football coaches, so they didn't
But,
like
like,
the kids that are teaching. But
Those
they
teachers were like
kinda
over it.
cool. Yeah.
Like, Mr. Hunnam's not
Yeah,
really
like,
over it.
jaded.
Again, I think he like revels into
no,
like
that's true.
like-
he does love teaching still.
That's true.
and,
He also
learning.
like clearly is he was very like
he's very smart.
proud to be like
Yeah.
very smart and very proud to be like a teacher that's going to show these students like no one's getting a pass. Like I'm going to teach. If I'm going to teach, I'm going to teach well,
Yeah, because like Barton to him is like an institution. He's like
That's
holding these
true.
kids to like a very high standard.
Yeah, to a
Yeah.
certain standard. Yeah.
Yeah, very principled and very much one of the first times he's introduced to us, he's getting in trouble because he failed a kid who is the son of one of their biggest donors.
A senator.
A senator, yep. And so basically the principal is like,
Senator Osgood was very upset when Princeton rescinded Jordan's acceptance, yes. And I've continued to have to deal with the fallout.
Hardy, are we really supposed to let these boys just skate by as long as Daddy builds a new gymnasium?
Of course not. That's not who we are. But we can't be ignorant of politics.
That boy is too dumb to pour piss out of a boot. A genuine troglodyte.
I
Which,
think he specifically said the kid's too dumb to pour piss out of a boot.
Which I love.
and I think
Yeah,
this
that
is
was
when he
pretty
says
funny.
troglodyte.
Oh, you guys, I wrote down
You're right.
I wrote down
Yeah.
every single word that he used to call these students.
Let's
It's
say it.
so ridiculous. But yes, troglodyte being one of them.
Good.
It was okay.
But honestly, that kind of like endeared me to him too, because I'm like, yeah, fuck these rich kids.
Mhm.
Like, no one need like
Yeah.
this kid's gonna be fine. He was born with the silver spoon in his mouth, and maybe
Yeah.
it's like a little
But not all
resentful
of
from
them,
his
Ian.
part. No, that's completely true,
Learn
and
from
also,
lessons.
but sometimes it's nice seeing these like rich kids getting taken to task a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit of I mean, it becomes a good, like, something they kind of compliment about him because he does a big speech at the end where he's like, basically, the world sucks, like, everything is getting shittier, and, like, these kids are gonna suck, and then the lovely lady who works at the school. What does she do? Is she a teacher?
She's like the secretary.
Secretary.
Yeah.
She's basically, well, these kids probably need you more now than ever. Then, if everything you're saying is true,
She's like the only character who's like joyful throughout the whole movie.
I was just gonna say he's kind of like Batman. Paul Giamatti is a little Batman-y.
I love it.
You gotta explain yourself on that one.
Yeah, I mean, he's mad for the people. He's there. He's the
Trying to balance the
hero
scales
that the
of
kids
injustice.
deserve, not the one that they need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on, Ian.
I said okay. I said okay.
Okay, all right.
But so very entitled kids, but her son, it sounded like he probably got on like a scholarship, maybe because she worked there. Because he joined the military to pay for college. He's like, oh, I might go to college, Mom. I'm going to, they'll pay for it if I do this. And then he ends up dying.
You're talking about Mary's kid.
Mary's kid, yeah. Just why I brought up the Vietnam thing in the first place.
Which is like, it's so sad because, of course, it's like the one. I mean, you see a few students of color in the movie, but like the one like black kid, of course, gets sent to Vietnam while all the other kids are. And she says that too.
But he enrolled too, didn't he? Though, like he joined for college.
Yeah, actually, he wasn't clear on that. Maybe because he couldn't get in. I don't remember, but
I think
or they couldn't afford college.
Couldn't pay for college,
right?
I don't think they ever said it explicitly, but that was like kind of.
I didn't catch that. Yeah.
Also, there's that scene when all the kids are in chapel right before all the students leave for their Christmas vacation, and the camera like pans over like gravestones, or like not gravestones, but like plaques of like fallen Barton like alumni. And it's really sad because if you look at the year they graduated, their date of their year of death was like 2 or 3 years right after.
Man.
And these are all boys that were like World War II, Vietnam, things like that. It's actually very, very melancholy. Yeah, it was super sad.
Damn.
Good detail. Yeah, definitely like the backdrop for all of this is like war, the Vietnam War, and for the kids specifically, the potential of going, where specifically like Angus, our main kid, some of the kids don't worry about it at all, which makes sense because they're like completely privileged. But Angus definitely seems like a kid who's like maybe not quite the same level of like well off as the other kids, because he's definitely. The big thing with him is if he gets kicked out of school, he's going to be put into military school, which would basically be a one-way ticket to the Vietnam War, which.
Right. I was reading that more as like he has issues from like his home life, like which we'll get into later. But like things that like he's just like acting out on that situation. Right.
But either way, he doesn't have the same level of like confidence that he's not going to ever have to go fight. You know what I mean?
And his mom was like threatening, or like the stepdad are like threatening that upon him.
A bad stepdad in this one. Speaking of our stepdads who step up list,
shout out to
unofficial list. This guy seems like a real douchebag. But that's like the basic layout of the movie, and so you get some really great stuff. One of the first scenes after everybody leaves and it's just Angus and Mr. Hunnam is Angus just like walking around the school and like exploring. I think he like steals the keys. Maybe these are two separate scenes. But there's like he's just like that's like a fantasy thing in movies I always love is like when there's like a big empty building or like an end of the world movie where they get to go into like the grocery store and just like pick out whatever. That thing is always very fun. It looks very magical.
I love that too, because then it's just also a reminder of like kids without like devices or phones or computers. Like, what do you do with all this time? You just explore. Like, you just like walk around and you just
literally what. Yeah. It's funny you say that, Ian, because like in the scene where they like make it out to Boston and like he's still a kid. Like all he wants to do is like go ice skating, like go look at books. Just very like sweet and simple things. And it did cross my mind. I was like, these guys have no phones. They're literally like, this is their like, I need to release. I need to do something that's not just sitting here. He was like playing the piano.
Yeah.
At one point, I think he snuck into the walk-in. I was just like eating ice cream straight out of the like 5-gallon tub.
Yeah. Love that. As I say, I think one of the first like real things that like happens in the movie is him breaking his arm. He's kind of just like a little bit like a kid doing a power play thing where he's like, oh yeah, at the end of the day, you have to catch me to get me in trouble kind of thing.
Right.
And he looks, and for some reason, the gym is explicitly forbidden. And so he says you can't go in the gym. Like that's the biggest rule or whatever. and then he looks over and there's all this like
It's like gymnastics stuff.
yeah,
like a
there's,
like
a
a
trampoline.
Yeah.
Alea jacta est.
Hurry up! Hurry! I am hurrying! I was on thin ice already.
Easily the funniest part in the whole movie is after that, when he's like when Mr. Hunnam Paul Giamatti's character is like trying to de-ice the window, and then Tully's like, hurry, and he's like crying, and then from there into the car when he's like in the backseat, like just like snot and tears rolling down his face. It's played for laughs. It is so funny.
And it's great because up until
Pretty
then,
good.
he's been like 17-year-old, like tough guy who's like, I don't need anybody.
Yeah, he's got a tough show.
classic.
Well, for sure, because after that's like kind of like their first moment of like, we're in this together, where, like Mr. Hunnam could get fired. Like if they put this on the insurance and the parents find out. But then Tully, who's like a very experienced and talented liar, just makes up this whole story, and they're able to get out of that situation together, which I feel like is like the first like bonding moment for the two of them.
They both become humanized to each other.
Yeah.
It's not just a student and teacher. They're both people now.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Mr. Hunnam's mad at him, but he was doing it to help Mr. Hunnam ultimately. And like he's like, you said you were going to get fired if they found out. So, I did what I had to basically. And then he gets his arm relocated, and that looks so horrible.
Yeah, so good. I love that. I love that little part of the movie.
It's brutal.
Count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Jesus!
Yeah, the beginning of this is really fun, and it's kind of like I appreciated that there wasn't like a hard moment where they become friends. Like a lot of movies with this structure, there'll be like a beat where they bond and then they're friends. This is like really just like a slow, slippery, like I start a pot of water boiling and let it heat up. Where
I'd say throughout the movie though too, they're like pretty combative throughout the whole movie, which it's not endearing to what, because I've already said that word, but what another word for that? Like it's just entertaining. Like it helps. Like it makes their relationship more compelling to watch. Like it's not like a handshake. Okay, and the rest of the movie we're buddy.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
Right. There's like moments of frustration between the two because they're both like insane.
I'm sure both of them are just cabin fever and just like tired of each other, I guess even the Mary said at one point when they drove to Boston and Paul Giamatti was like, "Are you sure you want to come with us to Mary?" And Mary was like, "No, I'm like, I need a break from the two of you. You guys are just like bickering the whole time."
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I loved her. I mean, like, I love her character, but she was also like served as like almost like the peacekeeper between the two, or like try to like talk sense into each character.
That's very true. That's true.
Yeah, they definitely form a little bit of like a parent-child thing with
a little bit, yeah.
Hunnam and Mary being mom, dad, and then the rebellious, angsty kid. Which Angus is the funniest name. It's still
that's such a 70s name.
It's so
like you just don't hear that anymore.
And it doesn't fit him at all because he's this like tall, like lanky kid.
Yeah.
I guess if you're born in the 80s, an Angus is normal.
Well, everyone was calling him Tully instead of Angus.
I was gonna say I love all the kids in the movie call each other by their last name, like all the students, all those scenes that you get with them together. I love that. That's great. It feels like
a very like. Go ahead.
Like a boarding school type of thing.
I was just gonna say like a part of its time, like a 70s thing or something like.
That's true.
I would love to be called Zambrano.
I know. I should have said that at the beginning of the pod. Nice one, Zambrano.
My last name is no fun.
Hey, White.
Whitey.
I feel like now it doesn't transition. It just sounds rude.
Especially if you add a Y to it. Is that what you said?
Whitey, yeah.
Okay.
White just doesn't have any ring to it. Whitey at least sounds like a nickname.
White.
I mean, in general,
it's me.
Name White. Mr. White.
Man, Mr. White is cool because you got Reservoir Dogs, and I think
That's
there's like
true.
There you
another
go.
cool
That's
Mr.
true.
White. That's so funny. No, I'd do my mom's maiden name, which is
Yeah.
Saporiti. That'd be way
Ooh,
cooler.
that's way better.
Whoa.
I know, I was this
That's a class.
close. I was
Can you
this
say it with some
close.
inflection too?
I'd be cooler if I had that last name.
Caleb
Is that
Saporiti.
Italian?
That's a good name.
Yeah, Italian, which I'm a
What?
quarter Italian, I think.
I'm thinking that's like from Naples, Andy. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not Napoli to me. I was going to say, let's talk about the eye.
Oh, walleye?
Please.
Yeah, Paul Giamatti's eye.
I think this is what I love about, and I know he didn't write this movie. I actually don't know who wrote this movie. Who wrote this movie, Caleb?
It was
David-
co-written with Alexander Payne, and I think from what I read, Alexander Payne came up with the story,
Okay.
and then it was co-written with David Hemmingson,
Hemmingson.
who is a TV guy. What did he do? Whiskey Cavalier, which I have never heard of.
Oh,
I
that
Don't
is-
Trust the Apartment, The Bee in Apartment 23.
Oh yeah, that's a TV show.
Looks like he does a lot of like
They sound old.
just random things like Blackish. He did an episode of like a lot of 1 or 2 episodes of a TV
Interesting.
show. So kind of random transition, but he nailed it.
Well, just like all the characteristics of Mr. Hunnam is just like, again, this sounds like stupid, but it just makes the movie feel realistic. Like the weird conky eye that he has. Again,
Yeah.
his
So-
binge
Love it.
drinking.
Or that he smells.
Yeah, he smells bad. He has
That's
like multiple diseases. Another
Depressed.
detail I loved about him is that he can only enter his car on the passenger side because the driver's side doesn't work.
Dude,
I love that.
loved that.
Like I don't know, it just
snuck that
makes
in.
the characters just more just gives it more depth. So the walleye
Yeah.
thing is I love that.
Dude, so I was reading that contact lens. So he was only able to see out of one eye when he was filming.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's
I know.
that
commitment.
would be really
Insane. And on top of that, as we were saying, how the storyline kind of jumps back and forth on the personal issues between Mary Tully and sorry, what's the teacher's name?
Hunnam.
Hunnam.
Paul Hunnam.
And Hunnam? Paul Hunnam. Yeah. I don't know if this is true or not. I try to look out for it, but I think I did see it that Paul Giamatti would switch the contact in his eye from the right to left. So that did you read about this, Caleb?
No, I noticed it.
Yeah, apparently it was to kind of indicate the different
Sir.
the differences between the three people that the holdovers, I guess, that like each of their it's all perspective, like depending on how you see it, like the perspective of each person,
Which eyes
different. So that's which is why his eye, he kept switching, which was the lazy eye.
that's cool.
That's interesting too because
Which was like a little reach for me. That's kind of a reach for me.
Yeah.
But
It's a bit
Well, there's this
I
thing where
get it.
Angus asks, he's like, which eye should I be looking at
Right,
when I
yeah.
talk to you? Which I love.
yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
kind of sassing them. They kind of talk shit to each other a few times.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember.
You know, my uncle
I think that
has
was after.
a lazy eye. I've never asked.
I've also never heard the term walleye before.
Walleye. I haven't heard that either. Yeah.
That's what
Did
they
he
said.
say
They're like,
that?
where's that fucking walleye? Or you know what I mean? Like even the faculty, the other teachers call him that. Like when they find out that he's the one that's going to be like monitoring the holdover students, they're like that poor walleye. And I was like, what the fuck is that?
I didn't even catch that, dude.
It's like a slur. I'm like, I didn't like it.
Yeah, even the faculty's assholes. Because the reason Mr. Hunnam has to stay is because some other guy pretends his mom has like leukemia or something.
Lupus.
Wait,
Lupus.
That
He's
didn't-
just
he was-
lying.
insane.
I can't believe you got out of it. Luckily Irish. I thought this was your year.
It was. I told Woodruff my mother has lupus.
Does she?
I don't know. Probably. We don't talk about those things.
So who got stuck with it?
Who do you think?
A poor wall-eyed bastard.
So good. Also, what does he teach? He like teaches like Roman history or something. He's like talking
Just
about
world history.
or just like world
they
history.
mentioned.
Okay. Which also Angus Tully is good at. He's the when he hands out the final grades, Tully has the highest of all of them. So he's like, and he's almost embarrassed by it. He like flips the notebook over when he receives his grade.
I think he just didn't want to get a pounding.
Yeah, that kid's really good. And this, I thought this was his first movie. I swear to God, this was the kid from Drill Bit Taylor.
Oh, that's
I was
funny.
convinced. You know, there's a kid who has a very similar look.
It kind of
That's so funny.
And I was like, wow, it's crazy how cool for that kid to grow up and do it. You know, like he's so young still, but
Andy,
awesome.
I'm surprised you've seen that movie.
Written by Seth Rogen. Andy, I don't know if you got this when you were doing research. So, and I don't know if this is right, but I think because they were doing like casting calls at the high schools, like where they were filming at, and he's like one of the students. Yeah, so he's like Caleb said, like this is his first movie. Like, dude, he's like amazing. I like
he killed it.
He was so good in this. Like he does so well with witty dialogue, like shit talking dialogue. Like he was like perfect. And he also has like just an interesting face, you know, where I don't know. He was so awesome in this movie. And also he has to go toe to toe with Paul Giamatti. You know what I mean? Like he has like serious actors, but that can be intimidating.
Yeah. Sure, but I mean, I'm sure Paul Giamatti's a chill dude. He's like, this is how you do it.
No, I know.
You know, don't sweat it.
He could be, but also if you're the actor, you'd be like, okay, thanks for telling me not to sweat. I'm gonna shit bricks anyway because I'm freaking acting in a movie. I don't know. I thought he was like so good.
I wouldn't be surprised if his actual personality is probably similar to Tully's.
A little tongue in cheek.
Yeah, so you know it's like natural
kind of
to
fits
him.
his.
Yeah, maybe
he's gonna be in Now You See Me 3.
I can't wait for that one.
Which one's that one?
That's the magic
one
movies.
with like it's Jesse Eisenberg, who's like a very funny magician. He's so.
I actually haven't seen any of those.
They're fun. They're ridiculous.
I didn't know there was two.
Yeah, I mean the second one has Harry Potter. So
yes, and he's pretty funny in it. He's like a billionaire asshole.
You mean like Daniel Radcliffe?
Yeah.
Fun fact about Paul Giamatti: his dad, Art Giamatti, was the commissioner of baseball when Pete Rose was banned.
What?
He's the guy who banned Pete Rose from baseball, and Paul Giamatti blames that whole debacle for his dad's death because he had a heart attack after. But he was so stressed out.
And now look at where we are with sports. Everyone's gambling on every goddamn
every other
game.
Commercial is a freaking. It's actually such a bummer that gambling's become so.
Pete Rose just died.
Did he pass away?
I think he just died. Like literally like 3 months ago.
Pete Rose was an insane person. Yeah, September 30th.
Whoa!
Barely a month ago. I didn't even realize.
This year.
I always thought that was cool, and that's like he's got a weird legacy.
That's interesting.
It's kind of random he got into acting. Also, I forgot to mention this earlier. This was shot by the same guy who shot In Bruges, which
very cool.
Makes a ton of sense. In Bruges, I think, is one of the most like beautiful movies ever shot, personally. And it's all set in Bruges, which is this very cozy little town where it's always snowing.
It fits.
Great choice for this. Yeah. Very cozy movie, too. Great holiday movie.
Don't tell Alexander Payne that.
Be careful what you say. But I can see it now that we've kind of dove into this movie and like all the issues that all of these characters are having. I can see him thinking like this wasn't supposed to be a holiday movie. It's supposed to be more of a drama, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a found family, people coming together. But
that's like such a classic Christmas drama of totally. And then the found family thing and like finding your people to be with for the holidays. Because there's this great line at the end that like was probably the most like touching moment of the movie to me. They're going through all this stuff. They go to Boston. Do they do the Christmas dinner after Boston? No, that's right before Boston. So this is right before Boston. This is where they decide. But basically, Mr. Hunnam is sad because there was this lady he liked, and she
the secretary.
Turns out she had a boyfriend, the secretary, and they were kind of crushing the whole time.
There's definitely like flirtations about.
Yeah, and so then
I don't know.
He sees that
I think she was just being polite, but anyways, yeah.
And so he's pissed off, and so he's like, why do you think you're here? Your parents didn't want you. I was begging with a God I don't believe in that your mom would pick up the phone so you could go on that stupid ski trip and leave me alone for the holiday.
Yeah.
And he's like, so like leave me alone, basically. And then Mary is like, you can't tell a kid who's
Yeah.
alone on Christmas that nobody wants them. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And so
Yeah.
then he puts a bunch of effort into making Christmas special for this kid by
Mhm.
getting a really
So
wimpy
sweet.
tree.
That's so sweet.
It's very
He doesn't
Charlie
even
Brown.
decorate it. Yeah. And then Mary makes a beautiful dinner for them. And so they're all sitting around eating. And so the kid, in a way, he's apologized for what he said. And they're kind of, but the kid's like, I've never had a real holiday family dinner like this. And I was just
Yeah.
like that. No one ever said they were family. No one's ever like, I'm so grateful that I could be here with you guys. But just, he didn't even think about it. To him, this was
Yeah.
a holiday dinner with family.
Also, to like further things like a little
Right.
bit more in that scene, like with the whole like family aspect of it, after he hands Mary and Angus like gifts, which yes, they are the same book, but it's like the thought that counts, right? Like he like wrapped it in everything. And then he gives Angus a card from his mother and it's just cash. And it just
Yeah.
like, again, it's like one of those things where you're like, the mom completely abandoned him, didn't want didn't
Right.
want him to be around. And her gift is just like cold
Right.
hard cash. And it's just like,
yeah.
Yeah.
and it's just like the am I using this word right? The dichotomy of the two. Is that a thing? I've heard that word before.
No,
I'm
I
gonna
think
say
you,
it's
I think
right.
you're in it.
Awesome. It's a Pete Rose home run. But again, it just like furthers the point where it's like these people that aren't like your blood relatives are more family than what you have
Right.
at your home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie does a good job of giving you sweet moments and then shutting them down pretty quick like that.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, well,
Never overly sentimental.
yeah. Yeah. It's very sweet.
On that note, too, with the relationship with the parents, or the mom specifically and the stepdad, earlier we mentioned how quick Angus was to make up a big story about how he broke his arm to protect
Right.
Mr. Hunnam at the hospital and not use the insurance. And it's this really intricate story where he's like almost crying. And I thought that was interesting because it does tell you about his relationship with his parents, because he probably learned to lie like that because he had to avoid like getting in trouble. Like that's like a
Right.
classic. Like kid liars are usually because they come from like a strict household.
Or yeah, cover up like what happened to his dad, which you find out later. Because like the entire movie,
dude.
he makes it like it's actually really sad because this is the second time I've seen it, and so the beginning of the movie is when you find out Angus has to stay because initially he thinks he's going to St. Kitts. He's going to like
so
some
excited.
beach.
He's like bragging about it.
Those first
Right.
few minutes when you just get all of the boys interacting with each
They're
other
so
is
funny, dude.
it's
Some great
joyful.
kids. I was a little sad they
Dude,
all
we-
left. Actually,
We have to talk about the kids at some point because I have some takes. But anyway, fuck, what was I gonna say? What was I saying, Caleb?
him lying about his dad. at
Oh
the
yes,
beginning.
he says because the mom calls, was like, "Hey, you're gonna stay there because me and your stepdad are gonna go on our honeymoon." And he's like, "You've been married since July. Like, what are you talking about? You've had so much time." And then he says, "You promised me we were gonna go to Boston. Like you said we were gonna go to Boston." And like when you first see that, you're like, "Okay, like why does that matter?" But in that when you watch the movie the second time, you're like, "Oh, he wanted to go see his dad. Like that was the whole point. That's like why he wants to
The
go
whole
to
point.
Boston."
even for the Christmas trip.
Even when he's with
Yeah.
when all the boys are there, he's like, "Hey, you have a car, right? We should just go to Boston." Like he just wants to have some semblance of family during the
What's
holiday.
in Boston? We should the big reveal with his dad. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
So you find out there's a couple moments where he's even said like I think to Mary and Mr. Hunnam, like, "My dad's dead." Like he's like explicitly said that. And then you find out that his dad is not dead. His dad had a mental breakdown, became very violent, and then got basically sent to like a mental hospital. So he's there. He doesn't even remember Angus because he ends up like visiting him when him and Mr. Hunnam go to Boston. So it's extremely, extremely sad. And like one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the movie is when he actually goes to talk to his dad and he's like telling him all these things that's been going on in his school year. And then the dad, when you think he's like, "Oh, I know who this is," he's like, "Hey, can I tell you something?" And like Angus gets like perks up. And he's like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
like what?" And then the dad says like, "I think they're putting something in my food." And you're like,
So
and you
sad.
just see like just the heartbreak on Angus's. It's so sad. It's awful. I hated that.
You could see him learning a lifelong like lesson, whether or not it's a good lesson or the right lesson. You could just feel that like growing up moment in a very sad way.
Also, you find out that's why his character is like so so quick to like push people away and just be a complete asshole because like his internal fear is like growing up to be like his dad.
Yeah.
Like he's afraid that that's going to happen to him someday.
And there's a really sad line. You're mentioning the mom not wanting him, basically, where he kind of acknowledges she might not like seeing me because when she sees me, she thinks of him.
Exactly.
And it's like,
It's
so
awful.
basically, he's like aware of his mom pushing him away just because she doesn't want that like whole side of her life anymore. She wants to distance, and he's part of the dad side now, whether
Yeah.
or not it's there. And that Mr. Hunnam's response there, another one of the most touching moments of the movie, because he's just like so insistent on,
Yeah.
you are not your dad.
And he's saying that from the perspective of like, my life is pretty much gone. Like I haven't lived a life
Yeah,
yet. You know what I
right.
mean?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So should we just, I guess, tie up the ending real quick? Because this kind of connects
Ye-
directly to the ending.
We can, but we need
Yeah,
to talk
let's
about those
do
other
it.
boys at some point.
Yeah, let's
because
just
those
say
boys are flawless.
Do it. Do it.
Kind of
Do that
happens
now.
then. Cool. So when they're visiting, Angus stole a snow globe from the secretary's party that they went
That's
to, where
right.
he meets a cute girl and kisses her, which that moves so fast. Yeah, there's a moment
This
where
is-
he's just staring at the snow globe while he's alone
Yeah,
in a room.
70s. Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't notice he stole it.
11. Well, I think it was implied. They don't really show it, but then it is the same
It
snow
comes
globe.
back. Yeah.
So then, at the very
you're
end of
right,
the
in the
movie, there's
hotel.
like a very happy ending to the holiday where they have bonded. You know, they go to Boston. He sees his dad, and Mr. Hunnam learns, and so he has no secrets now from his new family. And then the parents show up one day, and apparently Angus had stolen the snow globe, given it to his dad as a gift, which is so sweet and so sad. And then the dad was so affected by Angus visiting, he thought he was gonna get to go home soon, and so when they told him he couldn't go home, he attacked the orderlies with the snow globe, which really
Right.
blew up their whole secret Boston trip. And so then the parents come and they're gonna take Angus out of school and put him in boarding school, which again, the logic of the movie, it leads to Vietnam.
Like
And so-
military, military school.
Yes, and so this, probably death or serious like life trauma. And basically, they give Mr. Hunnam an out. Like, we know our kid sucks. Like, just tell us how
Yeah.
he tricked you or how he
Dude.
lied or what he told you, and like, just let us know, and that we're good. We're not going to bother you about it.
It was my idea. No, he didn't trick me or slip the leash. I took him to see his father. In fact, I convinced him to do so.
Mr. Hunnam gets fired, and Angus gets to stay in school, and it's very sweet. And throughout the movie, I think at least once he mentions what he would do,
Right.
where he would travel, and he wants to write a pictograph. What does he
A
call it?
monograph.
Monograph, not a
Basically a
pictograph,
short book.
about his travels. And so when he gets fired, he says he's going to go travel now. So it's a little bit of a happy ending. I can't tell if he's lying or not. 'Cause I'm like, can you afford it?
No,
Are you
I
just saying
think
this
he's
so
gonna
people
do
don't
it.
feel bad for you? Really?
I
Okay,
hope
good.
so.
Well,
Well-
he had to have saved money. Doesn't he like live on campus?
Well, you find out that like he basically makes no income because he's like a long-term adjunct teacher, which basically means he gets paid like a pittance. So you are just like,
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
yeah. Because
So
there's
I
that scene
wonder.
where he runs into his old college
while they're-
friend, which is another great lying scene by Angus
Yeah.
Tully. Okay. But yeah, it's like melancholy, that ending too. Because like you said, like Tully get to stay at school, which is like, even if he doesn't admit it, that's what he wants, right?
Yeah.
He wants to avoid boarding school at all costs. And then yeah, Mr. Hunnam basically gets to like live a life because he's never done that.
Can I comment on that ending?
Yeah, please.
I thought it was really funny how Tully walks up to Paul Giamatti and he's already got all his stuff packed. He's got his
Yeah.
car ready. It's got the hitch with the trailer, and he goes over to him to kind of say goodbye. But they're like such like to me it was such like they were such like men
Dude,
where like they're just like, all right, well,
Fuck
good
you.
luck. and they
fuck you
never
too.
hug,
Yeah.
and they just shake each other's hands, holding their tears, like don't let them, like both try not to let the other person see each other cry. I thought that part was so funny. It didn't
It's
seem
just
like it was intentional, but I was like, what? Why aren't they hugging?
well, it feels like it's like one of those things where it's like life is back, like is like back to like it's like happening again. Like the school is like functional. Like there's
Yeah.
people there. So it almost feels like
Weird pocket of reality.
yeah, like that was before.
people.
This is like now. Also, it felt like
Yeah.
such a high school goodbye from Angus Tully. It's like what I would have done, like as a freshman. Like, okay, thanks for
And he
everything you
just
did for
tries
me.
to get him to take him to get food. He's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe I just thought maybe since you're already fired,
Yeah.
you might give in. It's
Yeah.
kind of sad too because we learn when he runs into the Harvard friend, we learn that he was kicked out of Harvard because a rich, entitled kid copied off of him and then blamed him for it. And since he didn't have a big, powerful family, he's the one who took the fall for it.
That's right.
Essentially. And so it is an interesting like parallel to his like or like bookend to his life, his
Mhm.
professional life, where he's such an honest like person. He's a Barton man, heart. At the end of the day,
Yeah. Barn men don't lie.
that he wouldn't. Yeah, both times he refused to lie, and it's hilarious. He's like, "Man, so you got kicked out of Harvard for cheating?" He's like, "Oh, I didn't get kicked out for
Yeah.
cheating. I got kicked out for punching him in the face." Which
No, he
was
said he hit him with his car or something like that. It was just like, and while he's telling him this story, dude, this is one of the best lines. He's telling this story while they're at a liquor store buying alcohol,
And it's
and
Jim
then
Beam.
the cashier basically hands him the booze and is like, "Here you go, killer." It's just,
and he just stares at him.
Yeah.
Well,
Love
that
that.
cracks me up.
Also, I like
Yeah.
too when they go to Boston and they go to again. There's like that shared interest of like ancient history or whatever. So they go to like the
Mhm.
whatever the Natural History Museum, and they go to like this row of pottery, and on one of like the
This is
plates, it's
great.
like it's basically a couple having sex, and he's basically just saying like every generation thinks like they've created debauchery, like all these like heinous acts, but like it just goes back so further, and I just love that too. It's like everyone thinks they're so unique in their actions, but in reality, like this is like everything's
Everybody's
cyclical, all
been-
comes back.
Yeah, that hit deep
Yeah,
for me when he said that. Like, how are you going to know who you are in your future if you don't look at your own personal past?
right.
Yeah, that was good. And it's cool too because that
Good.
like not contradicts, but there's like two sides of it too, where he's a history teacher
true.
teaching the importance of history. But then when Tully's like, I'm gonna be my dad, like,
Yeah.
I can tell he's like, but you're not your history. Like at the end of the
Right.
day, you do get to decide who you are, which I'm not super familiar with Marcus Aurelius. So I'm like fairly certain that's like a big Marcus Aurelius principle as well.
I think that's like a direct quote from him.
You're probably right. But yeah, it was just a very touching movie. And like there's also we kind of talked about the kind of backdrop of the Vietnam War. There's also an interesting like subtext with Mary, the cook or the manager of the kitchen,
Yeah,
where she's like black and this is the 70s where, things aren't awesome in every
life is
way.
hard.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely like a social divide, which when they're in their holdover kind of state, they're all really equals. Like that was one thing I really thought was like sweet was it's never a factor in their interpersonal relationships, but there's like evidence of the divide. Like for example, her kid needing to go to college or
Right.
needing to join the military to go to college. It's like that was something that she never says this directly, but it's crazy that she's working at the school where all these kids are going to be able to pay for college because they have
Mhm.
rich parents and basically won't die like her kid did because they have money. And she has to like keep working there. And like, I don't know, it was just, she could have been like much more bitter and much more like angry.
Yeah,
At
she was
these
like the
people
most
than she
hopeful
was.
one. Like of the three, like again, like she
Mhm.
was like the one that not talk common sense, but like when she's with Angus and Paul, she's like the one that's like you'd expect her to be the most like downtrodden of the three, but in reality, she's like I don't know. There's like hopefulness to her.
She was one of the only main characters that had faith. So she was a
Just
believer
literally.
of God. One of my favorite scenes is actually with her when they're at the restaurant and they're trying to order the cherries jubilee.
Dude, so
Yeah.
I think that might be my favorite scene in the whole movie.
it's the best.
Yeah,
Poor
they're
waitress.
at this really nice restaurant on Christmas, and Tolly sees another table has this cherry jubilee on their plate. And if you don't know what it is, it's pretty much ice cream with cherries on top, and then it's flambéed.
That sounds great.
Bring the young vandal here, cherries jubilee.
Well, I'm afraid I can't. The dish contains brandy. Same deal with the bananas Foster.
Yeah, but doesn't the alcohol just burn off?
It's still against the rules, ma'am.
Fine. I'll order the cherries jubilee. We can share it.
I can't allow that either.
Can we say it's his birthday?
It's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, young man. Well, let's get you a slice of cake or some other age-appropriate dessert.
Christ on a crutch. What kind of a fascist hash foundry are you running here?
Excuse me, ma'am. Do you by chance have cherries?
Yes.
Great. And do you have ice cream?
Yes.
Fantastic. Can we please get cherries and ice cream to go?
And then, of course, Mary being a chef, this is why it's my favorite part. Like, she already knew, like, when I first saw this, and when she was like, do you have, yeah, she was like, can we take some cherries and ice cream to go? And I was like, yeah, she's going to make her own. Yeah.
Right.
And then they do like a makeshift
I love that.
cherries jubilee in the
In a
parking
paper
lot
box.
outside in the freezing cold in a cardboard box. And then he put too much. Yeah,
He
he
does
put too
pour
much
a
drink.
drink,
on
though.
it.
Dude, he, like,
He
doused
poured a
over 3
lot of-
plugs.
He poured. Yeah, he could have done maybe like a quarter of that, and it
I mean,
would have
he's an
been
alcoholic,
enough.
so like he's just
Yeah. And then,
dude. Again,
the flame got out of control, so they had to put it on the
Love
ground.
that.
so funny.
But
Again, though,
that to
like-
me, that
sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I was just gonna say, to me, that's very like wholesome and like holiday feeling of just like being together and just trying to create a meal together. To me,
Absolutely.
that felt
And
more
breaking
real. That was, like, the
rules,
most
you know, a
real
little too
scene.
young. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love that too, because
Seriously.
Mary, again, like in that situation, both Angus and Paul are so combative, and like, you know, like the waitress is being rude, but they're also being rude back. And then Mary's like, no, like calmly,
Let me
just
fix
fixes
this.
the situation.
Yeah.
And it's until she leaves that she's like, bitch. She like lets leave. I love that. Easily, like going into the movie, I knew it was gonna just be like the trio are on the poster, they're in the advertising, it's them, right? But for a good 40 minutes, you get these other colorful characters that I'm just like, I just loved. So, as Caleb, you said before, right? There's students that basically aren't able to go home for the holidays, so they stay at the school. Therefore, they're called the holdovers. So it wasn't just Angus who found out on the day that he was going to be staying at school. It was also that little bastard, Teddy Kuhn, who was
He's
just
a beautiful
he's
hair
just-
kid.
no, that is my boy, Jason Smith,
That kid cracked me up.
dude. So Teddy
Smith.
Kuntz is just like the little bastard who's just mean to everyone. And then you have Alex Allerman, Caleb, the Mormon.
Oh, heck
And then you
My
have
guy.
Yi Jun Park, who is
homie.
the Korean student whose parents are in Korea, so he's not going to go back. And then you have
Mhm.
Jason Smith, who's like your classic heartthrob football player, who's also just like an angel. Like he's like the nicest
hero.
person. He's just like
Yeah.
I just like fell in love with him, and I was like, oh, interesting. So it's the four of them at the beginning of the movie, and like those first 40 minutes are just so good because it is just like teen bonding, you know, and you get to see how all the students
Mhm.
interact with each other. And you have like the three older characters who are just like, besides Jason, who's again an angel, but like Angus and Teddy are just kind of like brash and rude to each other, and like they're just like mean. I think it's just because they're older and
Teddy's
they're
a
just
dick.
over it. Yeah, Teddy's a bad person. But then on the other end, you have Yi Jun Park and Alex, who are just like wide-eyed, and they're like sensitive, and they're just like small, or like probably like they're children.
Totally, the
So it's
kids
just funny that-
happy to be there with the
Yeah.
kids. Like they know they might get shit on a little bit, but they're
Right.
just like it's cool.
But I
Yeah.
just I would have loved to have like an extra couple minutes with just like all of them together because I just loved it.
My favorite line when they're all together is when they're hanging out by the truck and then they see the Christmas trees taken away.
Oh my
And
god.
then they're all kind of talking about like they're all kind of sharing like, so why are you still here? You know?
Yeah.
And then Teddy's making fun of the Korean.
Oh,
kid.
I wrote this down, Andy. It's so good.
You did?
Yes.
The
Please say
line
it.
where he says, he tells Teddy, he's like, your mind's a cesspool and a shallow one at that.
Dude, so funny.
Dude. Good zinger. I was like, wow.
It's like an educated insult. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, I would never be able to pull that out.
Yeah.
Also, another one between the two of them when they're just like berating back and forth. Teddy, like he asked Teddy's like, why are you even here? And he's like, my parents are renovating, blah, 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 blah. Like all the tools are in my room. And then Inga's like, it's winter, idiot. Like
Renovates during winter.
no one renovates their house in winter. God.
Yeah.
Like he just has them like locked and loaded, like ready to like set them off.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very smart kid.
Or like the first interaction
Love
between
that
the
about
two.
him,
Because he's just like pissed off at everyone. I think it's because he's staying at the school, but he's like trying to figure out like who stole his cigarettes or something. So he's like set off and pissed. And they have this like back and forth. And then Angus is like, poor little Christmas orphan needs his pot and porn. And just walks away. It's so funny. That's so good.
Yeah, just a beautiful movie. All the human element of it, and then visually too. Like it really is.
Yeah.
For sure. I think I'm gonna
amazing.
put this on for Christmas, like when we're just like hanging out, family style.
Oh, it'd be a
'Cause
good
it's-
background one.
I
Good
think so
idea.
because it's like it's both endearing and funny and like melancholic.
Mhm.
There's like room for like thinking. I don't know. And I've like seen people being like, this movie is like boring or like it's like just like not like it's nothing. And I'm just like,
Idiots.
well, okay, I'm like, okay, you can have that opinion, but I'm like, it's also not that. Like I just I don't see that. And I refuse to see that.
I mean, this Paul Giamatti performance alone, I'm a huge Paul Giamatti fan. I think he just kind of rules. I don't know, to spit on a Paul Giamatti performance, a tour de force like this is ignorant in my
That's
opinion.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's downright evil.
I guess his character in this was based on another movie. It was written for him. Win-Win, is that what it's called?
Oh, I love Win-Win, the wrestling movie. That's a great movie.
Apparently his character in this was like the primary inspiration. And again, written for Paul Giamatti.
I see
guess
that.
very
I
early
totally
on.
see that. Yeah.
What was his name? Dominic Henges, I think.
Dominic Toretto, I think.
Yeah, look at the writer. David Hemmingson. I guess early on, David Hemmingson knew he wanted
very cool.
Paul Giamatti as the guy.
Yeah, Win-Win is like awesome. I loved that movie. It was a
Yeah,
great like
yeah, I like
indie
that.
I remember
indie darling movie.
Really good things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kid in that movie is out of control.
I don't remember, but I remember liking it.
It's fun. It's a good one.
I've got nothing
Would you
much
guys
to
say
on my end.
Would you guys say this is your favorite Alexander Payne movie? Like of the ones that you've seen?
Mm,
Probably Sideways is great, but not my favorite for
I
sure.
like Sideways. Yeah.
I like Nebraska a lot.
I
Nebraska
still haven't seen that one.
really neat. And what's his name? The old man in that is so good.
Oh, what's his face? Bruce Dern.
Yeah, I love Bruce Dern.
Yeah.
And maybe the closest
Election's
competition
pretty
for
good.
me. Oh, Election's good.
Dude, Election is like
Yeah.
I saw that way too young, but that is like a near perfect movie. I love that movie so much.
But The
Like,
Descendants is close for me. Sorry.
See, okay, Caleb, I feel like I'm the only defender. People do not like that movie.
I thought it
I
was.
haven't
I saw
seen that
theaters
yet.
and loved it.
I love that movie. I thought it was fantastic.
So funny. It was
Yeah.
very like sad and yeah. I thought it was great, and the Hawaii location is great. Speaking of
Yeah.
great locations,
If I could recommend one, if you guys have you guys seen About Schmidt, the Jack Nicholson one?
yeah. I don't
No,
even
I
remember
got that
it,
on
so I
my
should watch it
watch
again.
list.
And you should watch it. That one is like
only-
that's the one I've seen recently, and that one's so good.
I only have it on my watch list because of Hope Davis.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Of
No, I
Day Trippers
haven't.
fame.
Yeah. And I think both Paul Giamatti and Hope Davis were in that Splendor movie together.
Oh,
where he's
American
a comic.
Splendor? Yeah.
There you go.
That
American
one's-
That's right. That's right.
That one's
Yeah.
sad.
I haven't seen that. Yeah, Hope Davis is.
You haven't, Ian? Dude,
I haven't
should
seen
watch
American
it.
Splendor.
Good.
You should watch it. It's pretty good.
Okay.
It's based on a true story too, right? It's like a real.
Based on, is it Arthur
I
Crumb
think
or no?
so. I think the comic books it's based on were the guy's like autobiographical thing, but I could
That's
be
cool.
wrong. I haven't seen it in a long time.
I think I'm gonna say Holdovers might be my favorite of Payne's.
I think I would right now for sure. Like if I was gonna watch one again in the near future, it'd be Holdovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's like the most hopeful of the bunch. You know what I mean? It's like, again, sorry to use this fucking word. Sorry for cussing. But it's like comforting and like nice to watch. So like Caleb said, like you could just have this on the background.
There's no
and
other
it's
way
great.
to put it. Yeah.
Sorry, Alex Payne.
Just beautiful. Just really,
But
really
yeah,
visually beautiful.
sorry. I want to read out all of the words that Angus or not Angus, Paul, whatever his name is, the teacher says. So, are you ready? Can I say them?
Yeah, please.
These are just like the words that he calls these students. He calls them to describe them. Thank you, Caleb. He calls them Philistine, reprobates, troglodytes, degenerates, layabouts, hormonal vulgarian, boors, cretins, young vandals, and snarling Visigoth. Half these words I've never heard of, but I was just like, I have to write these. Too good. It's too good. We need to like merch with just all those words on it.
That's a good idea. Favorite lines?
So mine was there you go, killer, after he describes hitting the cheater with the car. That cracked me up. The delivery of the cashier guy is just so perfect and dry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like there was another one I didn't write. So if you have one, go. And I'll see if I can think of mine.
Ian?
I have to look. Sorry. It's because hold on. Give me a second. Go ahead, Andy.
I got two. One of them is silly and one of them was like very, very tugging on the heartstrings. So the first one is when he says, "Life's like a henhouse ladder, shitty and short."
I like
so
that.
such a good line. Yeah. And then the other one is when Mary is telling the teacher, "You can't even dream a whole dream." When he says he doesn't want to write a whole book.
Oh, he says
you can't even dream a whole book. You can't even dream a whole dream. That hit me pretty hard. Both of those lines are very good.
I think it's the same scene as the Dream a Dream scene. But he also has a big monologue about why he likes being alone. And he's like, I just like the aesthetic of it. While he's there hanging out, watching the dating game with Mary. Which I just thought there was a little bit of irony to it. He's bragging about loving being alone while he's killing time with these people.
I have one. Hold on. It's coming up. It's when they're in the chapel. So it's after Angus basically takes away the student's ability to retake the exam, and Teddy Kuntz is sitting right behind him, like being like, "You motherfucker," and then he basically insults him, and then he's like, "Can you not talk to me? I'm trying to pray." While they're in the chapel, it's like again, it's like all these like little moments.
Praying.
It's so funny.
I like that line.
But there's also another line too, where again, just like a nameless boy, as they're packing up for Christmas vacation, they're like, "Tully, how come you're bringing these like short, like these like thong underwear?" And he's like,
"It's the same swimsuit James Bond wears under Her Majesty's Secret Service. You can't get more masculine than that."
Why don't you just wear cutoffs?
Because I'm going to St. Kitts. I'm not going to be the only dickhead on the beach wearing cutoffs.
Oh, look out, everyone! Tully's going to St. Kitts. They still look like panties.
I love that. Like, it's good. It's good. It's good.
Cool. Well, this was very fun. Anybody who's still listening, thank you very much for listening. Andy, thank you very much for picking the movie and recommending
thank you,
it.
Yeah, dude.
The next episode we'll be doing, if anybody wants to watch in the meantime, we're going to be doing another very fun Christmas one. The Holiday we're going to be doing with Riley Polito is coming back. We did Black Swan and Rosemary's Baby with Riley, other episodes, which were great. So listen to those. But The Holiday, so another very fun Christmas movie, should be
with Jude Law.
Jude Law, Jack Black, Titanic Lady.
Kate Winslet.
Love it. I'm
All
here
right.
for it.
Let's recommend the movies.
I even put on the freaking outline. And before we go, we're going to start a new thing where we recommend movies. And this was Ian's idea, so he'll go first.
Here we go. Have either of you heard of Terms of Endearment?
Heard of it, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I only have seen it.
fantastic movie. Absolutely love it. It's from 1983. It's directed by James L. Brooks, who wrote and directed the masterpiece Broadcast News, one of my favorite movies of all time. So beautiful. It's basically about a mother-daughter relationship. The main crux of the movie, Shirley MacLaine, who plays the mother in the movie, is fantastic. I couldn't recommend this movie more. Terms of endearment. Watch it.
Love it.
Okay.
Andy?
Logged and loaded. Okay, so Ian, when you messaged this last minute, I thought you meant new movies that we've seen. Oh, okay. Well, I thought I might have misunderstood, and I thought you meant like new movies.
It can be whatever you want.
Not.
Yeah, that's perfect.
No, we can go back to the voice memo that you said. But either way, my recommendation, I actually saw it yesterday.
Oh, Gladiator 2?
A Real Pain. No. A Real Pain.
Nice.
Jesse Eisenberg movie. Yeah. And Kieran Culkin. It's about they take a trip to Poland to kind of learn and revisit the history of their grandmother who had just recently passed that escaped the
internment camp kind of thing.
Internment camps, and then it's kind of the dynamic between the two of them is pretty damn good. Yeah, I really liked it. I'm looking here. The ratings, actually, the ratings aren't bad. The highest rating or the average rating is 4 stars, which I agree. I gave it a 4
Not
star.
bad. You gave it 3.
Yeah, I'd watch it. What's that? What'd you say?
I said you gave it 3 stars.
I gave it 4 stars. Is it 3 on your end?
Did you just change it, Andy?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I swear. Okay. I swear it's been 4 on my end.
Could have sworn I saw 3 stars on that. Seems like stolen valor.
You know what? I
go. My mistake.
Sometimes I'll rate something and then I change my mind and I'll rate it again. And then I go back and it's still the old rating and not the new rating. So maybe that's what happened to you. But I did rate it a 4 star.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's my rec.
Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin does sound like a really great combo.
I love Jesse
I could see them going off on each other ripping off each other. My recommendation is going to be the new Netflix Christmas movie, Hot Frosty.
Here we go. Strap in, ladies and gentlemen.
Aware of the irony, but it is actually really great. It's very stupid, but it's very self-aware. There's legitimate comedy. Craig Robinson is in it and Joe Truglio, and they're in a lot of the movie, and they're very funny.
Dude.
And it was really great. It's got one of the mean girls in it,
Lacey Chabert?
Yeah, Lacey is in it, and she's really great. The main guy, Hot Frosty, I recognize, but I don't know what he's from. But it was a really good time. It's really stupid, but it's really silly and fun, and legitimately was very surprised at how funny it was for like a dumb Hallmark type of movie. Which I say dumb Hallmark movie with love. We also watched Merry Gentlemen, which is about the Santa strippers with Michael Murray. That one was not as good. That was much more of a typical terrible Hallmark movie. So I really do recommend Hot Frosty. It's pretty fun.
Okay, I've hovered my the selector circle over this movie at least 4 times this
last
month.
Hot Frosty?
I'm like, should I? Yeah, dude, because I don't know what to watch, and that one's like a couple of times I'm like, should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? But
you should.
If anyone is gonna make me watch, or that's gonna help
push
me
it over the edge,
it's gonna be you, Caleb. It's you, Caleb.
Wow.
Well, honestly, tell me when you watch it.
Let's wrap this shit up.
We're done.
Well, thank you so much, everybody.
Yes.
And we'll be back with the holiday in a couple of weeks. Happy holidays. See ya.
Go watch a movie. A holiday movie.
Go watch a movie. A holiday movie. Go watch
Frosty.
The
Holdovers.
The Holdovers.
And
both HO.